Welcome to all to the Samveda e-learning classes which is organized for grade 6. Myself Vasudha. Today we are going to discuss about an important topic of grade 6, that is separation of substances. For our convenience, I have divided this into two sessions. What all are there in these two sessions? First we shall go through that. In the first session, these many learning points are there. The first one is introduction. After that, why should we separate substances? After that, methods of separation. In methods of separation, there are different methods. In the first session, we are going to discuss about only 4 methods, that are hand picking, threshing, winnowing and sieving. In the first session, we are going to cover all these, and after that in the upcoming session it is about the session 2. In the second session, we are going to discuss about remaining separating methods, that are sedimentation, decantation, filtration, evaporation and condensation, at last solubility of substances in water. Now we shall start the first session. Look at the picture there. It consists of basket full of fruits. Nowadays everyone are fond of the fruits, right? Because no one can eat outside the home. So everyone should eat the fruits because it contains vitamins and proteins. Suppose I like apple among that. What should I do? I pick up all the apples from that and I'll eat. Suppose my friend, if she likes bananas, what does she do? She picks up bananas from that and she'll eat. Here the concept of separation comes. We are picking up, we are separating only the required substances from this. I'll give one more example. Suppose your mother has prepared upma in the breakfast. It may consist of green chilies and curry leaves, many things. Before eating that, what do? We pick up all the chilies, we pick up all the curry leaves and keep that away. Here what we are doing? We are separating, in the sense we are removing the substances from the mixture. What do you mean by separation? Separation means removal of substances from a mixture of 2 or more substances. In our daily life, we can see many instances where substances are being separated from mixture of many materials. For example, in the morning we will prepare tea and we will have tea, either tea or coffee. If we have tea, before drinking the tea, what do? After boiling that, we have to separate the tea from the tea leaves using the strainer. Here we are separating the liquid tea from the tea leaves. Again, as we have read in the lesson number 3, that is fiber to fabric, in that we begin the cotton to separate the seeds of the cotton from the fiber to get the cotton wool. Here also we are separating the substances from the mixture. In our daily life we see many instances like that. So what do you mean by separation now? Separation means removal of substances from a mixture of 2 or more substances. It is not necessary that should be the mixture of 2 substances only. It may consist of the mixture of many substances. Next, before going to discuss about the methods of separation, first we should know why should we separate the substance. Why should we separate the substance? We can eat all the substances or mixture like that only. First, why should we separate that? For that, we will see some instances. Look at the picture now. What is that? It is a sample of rice. Look at that, it consists of some of the small pebbles in that. Before cooking the rice, what should we do? We have to separate the small pebbles from the rice. If we keep the rice for many days, sometimes we can see the small worms in that. It may harm us. So before cooking the rice, we should separate all these impurities from the substances of mixture. In this, what do we infer? To remove the impurities or harmful components. we should separate the substances to remove the harmful components. It is the first reason. Now, we shall see the another one instance. Look at the picture now. What is that? It is separating the tea leaves from the liquid tea using the strainer. Why should we do like that? Why can't we drink in the same way? We can't eat the tea leaves, isn't it? Because it is the non-useful component. So, we have to separate the substances to remove the non-useful components. Sometimes we can use that to grow the plants and all, but still it is non-useful component. Next, we shall see another one instance. Look at the picture now. What is that? It is churning of milk to get butter. After churning, what do we get? We get butter as well as buttermilk. Here, the butter as well as the buttermilk both are useful components. We use both the components in a different way to prepare the dishes, isn't it? Ghee, butter, buttermilk, all these are the milk products. You have read that in the lesson number 1. The ghee, honey, all these are the animal product, and the butter, buttermilk, all these are the milk products. So, here we are separating the substances to separate the two useful but different components. So, what do we infer from this? To separate two different but useful components. From all these, what can we conclude? We should separate the substances to remove non-useful components, to remove harmful components, and to separate two different but useful components. It is the reason to separate the substances. Next comes the methods of separation. The methods of separation will be selected based on the substances in the mixture. The substances may be small in nature, it may be bigger in size, sometimes it may be in any states of matter. In the sense, it may be in the form of solids, it may be in the form of liquids, or else it may be in the form of gases. So, based on that only we can select the method of separation. Before going to the first method, we shall watch one video. Here I have taken the mixture of dry peas and chana dal. Before using this to prepare the food, I need to separate both the substances. For that, I will take another one plate. I pick up all the dry peas and I will put them in the other plate. It is easy to pick up the dry peas because they are large enough so that I can hold it easily. It is almost done now. See, now I have separated the chana dal and the dry peas from the given mixture by hand picking method. I think everyone has watched the video and have got the idea about the first separating method, that is hand picking. What did I do in that? I have taken a sample of mixture of dry peas and chana dal. Using hand picking, I separated both the substances. Look at the picture now. What is that? It is a sample of some dal, but in that you can see the small black color dots. It is nothing but the impurities present in the mixture. Before cooking the food, we can't use that in the same way. Before that, we have to clean the dal. In the sense, we have to separate the impurities from the mixture. What is the convenient method for this? Since they are very few in number, what can we do? We can pick that with the hand and we can throw that. So, what is the meaning of hand picking method? Hand picking method can be used for separating slightly larger impurities. Suppose from the provision stores, if you bring any rice bundle, before using that what do? First you will clean that. In case if you keep the rice for many days, what happens? Sometimes it consists of the small worms in that. We can't use like that only. Before that we have to clean, in the sense we have to separate all the impurities from that. We have to remove that using the hand. If the quantity is very large, can you do that? No. So, hand picking is suitable only when the quantity of the impurities is less. I think you have got the idea about hand picking. Hand picking is the convenient method, and in our daily life we use this method in many times. Suppose think that you are eating pulao and you do not like carrot or else you do not like the peas. What do? You pick up all that and you will keep that away. So, in our daily life we use this method frequently. It is about the hand picking method. Next, how do we get the wheat or paddy? We get from the farmers. Farmers will harvest that. What are the steps involved in the agriculture? First, farmers will prepare the soil. After that, they sow the seeds. After that, irrigation, weeding, harvesting, at last storing the harvested crops so that they can use that for the future use. In the harvesting, there are many steps in that. It involves many steps. After harvesting, first the farmers has to separate the grains from the stalks. I think you have seen. Look at the picture now. What do you see in that? The people, they have spreaded the bundles of wheat or else paddy on the fields. Before separating the grains from the stalks, it has to dry in the sun properly. After that only we can separate the grains. Before that we can't. Is it possible to separate the grains from the stalk using the hand picking method? One by one, can you pick up that? It is not like plucking up the flowers or else fruits. From the mango tree, you can easily pick up or else easily pluck all the mangoes. From the flowers plant, you can pluck all the flowers easily because they are very few in number. But look at the bundles of paddy. Can you pluck all the grains from that? No. So, we need another one proper method, easy method to separate the grains from the stalks. So, for that we introduce threshing method. What is the meaning of threshing method? Look at the picture there. The people, what they are doing there, they have taken the bundles of stalks and they are beating on the hard surface. What happens when we beat like that? The grains will know it gets separated from the stalks, and many people are doing that. So, the threshing method, it is involved in the harvesting method. Before storing the crops, the grains should be separated from the stalks. Threshing is used to separate grain from the stalks. In this process, stalks are beaten to free from the grains. Nowadays, even the animals also have been used to do the threshing. You can see that in the picture. The animals, they move on that, the grains get separated from the stalks, and nowadays the advanced machines are there. The machines, it will lessen our time and it lessen our work also. After harvesting, to cut the harvested crop, for threshing, for all these, and also for cleaning the crops, the machines helps. It is about the threshing method. Now, I will take another one example. Take one plate, in that take the mixture of dry sand and sawdust. You know that sand is little bit heavier, whereas sawdust is lighter particles. It is like a powdered structure. Now, you take that in a plate. Now, the task is you have to separate the dry sand and the sawdust. How do you separate that? Think. Observe that carefully. Can you separate that by hand picking method? Can you pick all the sands and keep that away? It is impossible because there are n number of sand particles in the given mixture. So, you can't use that method. Now, what do you do? Whether the threshing method works in that? Threshing means what? You have to beat that on the harder surface. But if you do like that, both the particles, both the substances, it will spread over the table. You can't use that also. Now what do? We need another one method to separate the sand from the sawdust. Now take that plate and carry that to the open ground. Stand on a height platform and you have to keep the plate in your shoulder height and keep that little bit in a tilted way so that the particles should slide down easily. Look at the picture now. That lady, she has taken mixture of substances and she has held plate or else the sieve in the tilted way. And when the wind blows, what happens? Observe that the lighter particles, that is the husk particles, it carried away with the wind, and the harder particles, that is seeds that are collected near the platform. Have you understood the task here? Here we have separated the sawdust from the sand. This picture, the husk particles are the lighter particles and seeds or else the grains are the harder particles, in the sense heavier particles. Because of that only, when the wind blows, those two substances get separated. Usually the farmers will follow winnowing process. Winnowing method is used to separate heavier and the lighter components of a mixture by wind or else by blowing air. Because of this only, we have selected the open ground, because in the open ground wind blows frequently, we will get the air frequently, so that we can separate the substances. After separating, what can we do? We get the seeds. We can see the heap of seeds there, which is separated from the husk particles. The husk particles later we can use that for fodder for the cattle and many other purposes we can use that. Usually winnowing is done after the threshing method by the farmers. All these threshing method and winnowing methods are used by the farmers. The main thing is, in winnowing method we can separate only the heavier and the lighter particles. If we take the substances of the same weight, we can't separate that. For example, along with the sand, if I take the salt, I can't separate that because both are of same weight, so that I can't separate that. So winnowing process holds good only when the components are of different weights. Now we shall observe one video to understand better. I hope everyone has watched the video. After watching the video, you have got the idea of threshing and winnowing. Usually winnowing is done after threshing and it is done by the farmers. Think that you wish to prepare a dish. For that you require flour. In our daily life we use the flour, wheat flour, rice flour for many purposes. To prepare chapati, to prepare puri, ragi balls, for all these we use the flour. Before using that, we have to clean that because it may consist of some of the impurities. So which method is suitable for this? Can you remove the impurities by the hand picking method? Is it possible from that? Think, can you pick all the impurities from that? It is not at all possible. Next comes threshing. Can you separate the impurities from the threshing method? No, even it does not work. After that, winnowing. Can you do that by winnowing? If you do that, what happens? The flow particles, it will carried away by the wind and it will spread over the floor. So even the winnowing process is not suitable to clean the wheat flour. Now what do? You require any other method. For that, we shall observe one video. Watch this. For sieving method, we use a device called sieve. It has small holes in that, so that when we pour the flour into that, the finer particle will pass through these holes and it will be collected here. Now we shall see how does it work. I have taken the ragi flour. Now I'll pour this on this. Look at this now. These are the bigger impurities, so that it cannot pass through these small holes. The finer particles has been passed through this and it has collected here. In the video, what did you observe? I have taken the ragi flour. In that some of the impurities were there. So, I have used a device called sieve. It has the small holes in that, so that the smaller finer particles will pass through that and it will be collected under the sieve, so that I can clean the flour also. Now you can prepare your favorite dish, whatever it is. So before preparing the dish, we have to clean the flour, and I think you have seen this sieving process in many places. Have you been to flour mill where we get the wheat flour or as rice flour? Before grinding, what do? They have to clean the wheat. What do they do at that time? They will take slanting sieve, so that they will pour all the wheat on that bundles of wheat and they will sieve that. In this sieving process, the husk particles and the stones which is present in the wheat, they get separated from the wheat. After that, they will grind that. Usually, this sieving process is done after threshing and winnowing. In threshing and winnowing also, it is not completely accurate. It consists of some of the husk or stone particles in that, because threshing is done in the fields and even the winnowing is also done in the fields, because so only it may consist of some of the small pebbles in that and some of the husk particles in that. So all these are removed in the flour mill using the sieving process. I think you have seen this in other places also. Just go through this. First picture, you can see the sieving process. Here they are cleaning the flour and they are removing the impurities from that. Next comes, what do you observe in that picture? It is the sieving process only, but it is nothing but the construction sites. Why do they use the sieving process in the construction site? The sand particles, it consists of the pebbles and the stones in that. To separate that from the sand, they use the slanting sieve. They clean that, so that it gets separated from the sand. After that, they can use that for the construction purpose. What is the meaning of sieving? It is used when the components of a mixture have different sizes. Now we will take another one example. We will take the mixture of chalk powder and the wheat flour. You know that both are of almost same color and the same sizes. Can you separate this using the sieving process? You try this in your home. It is not possible, because both the components are of same size, so only you can't separate that. Sieving is used when components of a mixture have different sizes. So for this we have to find out the several separating methods, and in all these methods we have not taken the liquid anywhere, only we have taken the solid particles. So there are many other methods. So far in this session, what all we have discussed, we shall go through that once. Recapitulation. First, what did we study? The separation of the substances. What do you mean by separation of substances? It is nothing but the removal of the unwanted things, or else the removal of the substances from the mixture. After that, we have discussed why should we separate the substances. Why should we separate the substances? Because to remove the non-useful components, to remove the harmful components, and at last to remove two useful components, but they are different to each other. We use that in a different way. After that, we discussed about the methods of substances. Look at that. First comes hand picking. When do we use the hand picking? Remember, we use the hand picking method when the impurities are slightly larger. We use the hand picking method in that. After that, we discussed about threshing. When do we use the threshing method? Usually it is used by the farmers in the fields. It is used to separate the grains from the stalks. It is about the threshing method. After that, we discussed about winnowing. Winnowing process is done after threshing by the farmers, and winnowing and threshing includes in the harvesting process. What is the meaning of winnowing process? When the mixture consists of the lighter particles and the heavier particles, only then we can use the winnowing using blowing the air. At last, we have discussed about sieving. When do we use sieving? When the components of a mixture have the different sizes. For example, as we have discussed, to clean the wheat flour. Wheat flour is a very finer particles, whereas the impurities will be slightly bigger. In that case, we can use sieving. So, in this session, we have discussed these many learning points. At last, we shall see the homework. Home assignment. First one is, which method is suitable for separating French beans mixed with the green chilies? In the sense, it is the mixture of the vegetables, how to separate that? Which method is suitable for this? Go through that and answer. Next one, 3 mixtures are given below. Which of these can be separated by the method of sieving? First one, pulses and rice, sugar and wheat flour, at last pebbles and pulses. They have given 3 mixtures for which sieving is suitable. You have to find out. Just you have to tick the correct answer. At last, how can you separate salt from the salt solution? So far we have discussed the substances, all were in the solid form, whereas in the last question I have given the salt solution, that is nothing but the liquid form, liquid state of matter, which I have not discussed in this session. Just go through that once, think properly, find the answer for that, and we will find the answer for this in the next session. Thank you.